Yeah, it was a heartbreaking race. I think obviously we were starting on the medium tires, so we knew the start was going to be tough. Because generally you can get heat into the softer compound better, and therefore your start's always better off the line. So I lost a couple of positions off the line, but I knew that I couldn't take any risks because my race was a long game. And then as the superstar started to fade, we were really strong, and we didn't waste any time making moves. We came from, I think it was like P6 or something, to take the lead. Um, and once I took the lead, I was like, there was the part of me in the car that was like, this is our day. Because we were so fast in the early part of that race. And, I think we had 9 seconds in the car behind me when most of them boxed. Um, and yeah, pace was looking great. And then I was like, yeah, this is finally gonna be the day we're gonna win. And then obviously there was Dennis's crash, and I got a radio call first, and they were like, "There's been a crash," and I saw VSC, so I was like, "Okay, hopefully it's just another spin or something small which can be solved with a VSC, and then I don't lose my advantage." And then I obviously drove around to the corner, and it looked like a crime scene. So then as soon as I saw his car, I knew it was gonna be a safety car. Um, and when the safety car finally did come out, inside, you know, um, inside there's a part telling me like that was it, like our race is done. But at that point, you have to be optimistic and you have to give it your all. So I did my best on the restart, made as much of a gap as I could, hoping for another safety car to come. And obviously it didn't come, but yeah, that was heartbreaking. I'm happy we gave it our best even after we knew that our race was done. Because for us, we made it into a test session where we have another chance to work on our race pace, and I feel this was probably our strongest race pace wise. So there's some positives to take out.
I can tell you there were a lot of Indian fans, especially buzzing in my Twitter mentions, trying to do what we would do a rain dance. They were trying to do a safety car dance, trying to get you another safety car, because that's what essentially your strategy was hinging on, right? That you start on the medium, you make the most of your free air, and you actually gave it away when you spoke to me on Saturday, saying our pace in free air is so strong that we could run up front and match the front runners out there. So I sort of had a feeling you would make that switch and try the alternate strategy, which, by the way, we should also point out to our listeners and viewers that it's also bold to start in the top five and attempt the alternate strategy. But can you sort of go inside and tell us why the alternate strategy and why not do what pretty much all front runners did, which was start on the super soft and run a conventional race?
Yeah, of course. I think obviously, when you have track position and you're starting in the front, you want to make the most of what you did in quali. So you want a good start, which is made by the softer compound. Um, Obviously, starting on the mediums in the front, you obviously risk getting a bad start and you risk being in the carnage because when other drivers behind you see that you're starting on the medium and the harder compound, you're instantly a target, and for them, you're in easy position. And you risk basically, getting into incidents, and you risk going backwards, and you risk losing track position, and therefore losing a lot of time. For me, the decision to go on that strategy, obviously, and then you have the big thing of safety cars. If you have a safety car any point after the front guys pit from the normal strategy, you obviously lose that pit stop gap. And so from, like, let's say in Melbourne, it was like from lap 8 to lap 20. If there was a safety car, I was gone because I lose the whole gap and that whole pit stop and everything. So you lose like 30 odd seconds, and then your race is basically finished unless there's another safety car. So there's a lot of risk in the alternate strategy, but for me, the main thing was I felt in the warm up, it was a very last minute decision. I didn't know which strategy I was going to go on. And once I did the warm up in both tires before the start of the race, I was like, I feel good on the mediums, and I think I won't lose so many positions and I can keep the pace, which is exactly what we did. I mean, we took the lead. So, I think if there was no safety cars at all in the whole race, our strategy was the quicker strategy. So in my eyes, we did choose the quicker strategy. But obviously, we risked putting ourselves in that position. You can easily say, "Oh, if you didn't crash, then we would have probably won." But I think in hindsight, it's a learning for all of us that you know, it's you just got to do what people around you are doing, especially when you're starting P4. So, I mean, I had a feeling that it was going to work, and it was working, but it wasn't meant to be. And I think it's a lesson I'll take forwards.
It's very candid and honest of you, Kush. And it's interesting because a lot of people also wrote in saying, "But why could Kush have just not pitted like you do in Formula One? Just take on another set of a medium or even the super soft." And I told people, if you take on the super soft for more than 6, 8 laps, you're done. Like Kush would have probably still been driving the race on the Monday morning as well. But maybe this is a good time to explain how many tires you have in Formula Two and why you get strategy limited in the feature race, and it's more of a lottery when it comes to tire strategy. So would you like to explain how many tires you have and what's your utilization typically for a race weekend?
Yes, sure. So obviously we use one set of mediums in practice, and we scrub one set in practice usually to use after the pit stop in the feature race. And we obviously use a new set of prime tires for the sprint race. So we have two. So going into the feature race, we basically have two. We have two medium tires that are old, so you can't really use them because they're slow and they've lost rubber and they just got a lot of kilometers on them, and it would make sense racing with those. And you have obviously the scrub new set of mediums, which you use normally after the pit stop. In my case, I used it at the start of the race. And you have your two option sets, which you use in quali. So they've done, let's say, 2 push laps. The reason I couldn't box when Dennis obviously crashed was because the only tires I could go on was the super soft, and I mean those would probably last you 8 laps, and I think there was a lot more than 8 laps left, so that would have been like hoping for a miracle or something. So that didn't make sense. There was another strategy that was in my mind, which I was like, okay, what if we pit now, and pit again for another set of options to do like a 3-stop race. I mean, a 2-stop race. But we would have lost too much track position in that. So while I was going around in the VSC, because I knew the safety car was going to come out, I'm just talking to my engineer and I'm like trying to figure out what we can do, because at that point our race was over and I was like, can we pit now? Maybe come out in the option and make a gap and pit again. But I think the only thing that made sense was to try keep going with the mediums and hope for another safety car at the end of the race. But yeah, obviously that didn't come. So that's basically the thinking behind it.
That's actually a wonderful explanation of how, even as a driver, we normally see Carlos Sainz having these chats. So if F2 doesn't release these radios, but we're also thinking, okay, now that I'm in this situation, can I do a 2-stop, which is very unusual for a Formula 2 feature race. But you also used a very technical term here, which is interesting, which is a scrubbed set. Would you mind explaining to the viewers what exactly is a scrubbed set?
So in free practice, you do, obviously with new tires, you have a layer of shine on them when they're new, and that shine takes half a lap or a lap to break. And once you break that, you can start your normal warm up. But that shine is very slippery, and it's tough to warm up those if you instantly want to push. So a scrub set basically is, in practice, we do one slow lap on a new set of tires just to remove the shine off them. So in the feature race, when you come in for a pit stop, you don't have that shine on them, and you can warm them up easier in the installation laps before the feature race starts. So in turn, it's all about, because after a pit stop, or the main thing is tire temperature. If your tires are too cold, you're going to lose a lot of time on the out lap. So to warm those tires up better in the installation laps, we do the scrub set to take the layer of shine off the tire.
Thank you. That's very helpful. A lot of information, education here. But this doesn't take away from the fact, and you said this in your official statement, that your Melbourne weekend was actually of 2 halves. You had a great qualifying on the Friday and then the sprint race on Saturday. And then, of course, we know what happened on the Sunday. I know you and I were chatting back and forth, and, of course, there was an air of disappointment everywhere. So I'm pretty sure, there was even more disappointment for you who actually felt the win sort of taken away from you. But how do you deal with such a low, where you had your most dominant race in Formula 2 throughout, and then it was just luck that sort of cost you a strong position, the win or the maximum points for the win? How do you deal with it? Who do you speak to? Who's the first person you call when you're out of the car, and who's a part of Team Kush? Because typically there's Mika Hakkinen that everyone knows of, there's Alpine, the academy that you're a part of, but why don't we just dig deep inside to that side of your preparation that you would do?
Yeah, obviously, it's very tough after a weekend like this. Looking back at the first 3 weekends, over one lap, there's no one quicker than me. And I can say that confidently because it's true. And, obviously, when you look back, you can easily, as a driver, think and dwell on, in Bahrain, if I didn't get disqualified from qualifying, how many points did I lose that weekend? How many points did I lose in the feature race in Melbourne? I should be leading the championship. And it's easy to go into those thoughts, but I think now is the important time when you have a break after a bad weekend to take the positives and I think you have to go back to the love of the sport, the love of driving. Go back to basics where you just enjoy the drive and you're doing what you love. And I think the mental side of the sport's very important, especially on days like these. Obviously, I have Shri, who's my mind coach here, who I'm going to see tomorrow, actually, where we just discuss and we work on stuff I feel I could have done better in the weekend and how to keep it on track instead of dwelling on all the negatives. And, I have a great team around me, obviously, as you mentioned, with Mika and Alpine. I just finished my report for Alpine, so they obviously get my in-detail report after each weekend, which they then read and they then try and understand where they can help me. Obviously, with Mika, I'll be on a phone call with him and explain and run him through all my thinking, everything I feel that went well and what can improve on my side, mainly. So it's I've never really had this structure before, but it's a great help for me to lean on so many people and so many brilliant organizations and individuals. And it's a great feeling. I really feel like I've got a lot of ammo in my pocket now, and I really didn't have this until this year. Obviously, I have my trainer as well, Warren, who follows me through all the races, and we discuss what we can improve on the physical side. So everything's always about improving from the last weekend. Even though you do a good weekend, there's always stuff to improve, and it's important to jot down those points and actually take them seriously.
I still remember this Kush's notebook of all the happenings through the weekend that I'm looking forward to reading when I see you next. But did did Mika or did Alpine have some specific things to point out from Melbourne? Because, like I said, it was very, very strong weekend. History books will never reflect the kind of race you drove on that feature race on that Sunday. But I know it was a very strong weekend. So, any specific comments that have been made that you can share with us on in this interview?
Obviously, when you're reaching the level of Formula One, um, there's so many amazing drivers out there in that grid. So excellence is expected if you're an Alpine Academy driver. So it's not, oh my God, you're so quick and you're so. It's expected when they signed me, they obviously saw something in me. So it's expected. But I think with Alpine, the main thing was to understand what went wrong and why we chose that strategy and to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because in hindsight, I was P4 with great pace and I didn't have to take the risk, and all I needed was a point. So that was definitely one of the big talking points. With Mika, I'm yet to debrief the whole weekend with him, so I'm not sure what we'll speak about, but that's going to happen soon. But yeah, with I basically, after every F2 race, I go to the F1 paddock after I finish all my work and I watch the race with Alpine. So I get a chance to speak to, the main heads at Alpine and everyone keeping an eye on the academy performance. So it's great for me to get insights straight after my race and from very experienced people, and it's a great help to have that ride on my back.
We look forward to seeing you on TV whenever you're next watching the race with Alpine. But let's shift forward. You got a bit of a break before the next round. What's in store for you? Would you like to share what you're going to do? I know you're going to be on track at some point, but what's your next few weeks looking like before you get back in the car, which I'm sure you're really itching to do, knowing that you are the fastest on single lap pace and you've got a little more you want to sort of prove with a very strong result in both the races, because that's what we're all hoping for as well.
Yeah, now that F1's in the sights, it's obviously boosting everything, and I'm really enjoying myself. I think this 2 weeks now I'm back in Bangalore, so home. So you might see me around. Uh, you might see me around. Hopefully not Friday night. I'll try and wear a mask or something. But yeah, it's good to be home. Good to be with family and friends. So this 2 weeks is basically, obviously my training doesn't stop. A lot of physical stuff, and we're gonna really work on the weaknesses from Melbourne, which what I felt in the car. So obviously with my trainer, it's gonna be every day a detailed session and detailed meeting after the session. A lot of work on the mental side. Actually, not a lot of work on the racing side these next 2 weeks. Obviously, a little break from the racing side, but the mental and physical side is going to be, taking priority. And then obviously we get back to work in Barcelona for the test. So excited for that. Yeah.
We also do a bit of media work because one thing we should dig into, and maybe not this video because we should do a next one on just explaining what is race pace, how do you set up a car, what are the tools available, because lots of people have been typically been saying Kush is great, the Invicta is great on single lap pace, but where's the race pace going? And I know you have lots of theories and practical information we can use to explain to people and educate them. But till then, have a lovely time with your family. Say hello to them from me, and give Shri a big hug and a high five when you see him. And enjoy your time in Bangalore. And all your fans, if they bump into you, I'd request them to take a selfie and upload it on social media and tag you there, of course. Thank you so much.
No, and again, as always, I want to end by saying massive thank you to all of you, even for listening to this, and the support and all the messages I've received after Melbourne has just been amazing. And when I'm feeling down after the weekend and I read all of my fellow Indians' messages, it's just an amazing feeling to know that I'm supported so much, and that so many of you are on this journey with me. So thank you again, and I hope I see some of you in these next 2 weeks. But yeah, if you do see me, please come say hi, and we can have a conversation, and I can explain to you why my race pace is so shit.
And like I said, thank you so much for trusting me with your insights and your time. It's lovely to be on this journey with you. I'm vicariously driving, every time you're in the cockpit, coach. So thanks once again. And I'm sure we'll speak soon. We'll make a plan to have more race-based conversations in the next few days, but enjoy this downtime.
Thanks, Kunal. Enjoy your holiday, man. Speak to you soon.